Explore uncharted space in Alchemy: Edge of Eternities. There are 30 brand new cards coming to Magic the Gathering Arena on August 9th, and they'll be playable in Alchemy, Historic, Timeless, and Brawl. I'm Amy the Amazonian, and in this video I'll be going over all 30 new cards, starting with a legendary spacecraft, Candela Aegis of Adagia. Candela has Flash and can rescue a creature from your battlefield, giving it a perpetual boost to power and toughness. After you have 8 or more charge counters on Candela, you can use it to put creatures from your hand directly into play when it deals combat damage to an opponent, including the creature you put back into your hand. Candela helps you dodge removal, get extra enter the battlefield effects, and set up to cast your second spell a turn. Need an extra boost while stationing your spacecraft? Squadron Carrier helps you charge up by giving each spacecraft the ability to conjure a starfighter pilot directly onto the battlefield. That creature can then be used to station any of your ships, which lets you surveil and set up the top of your deck and graveyard. Once you've fully charged your Squadron Carrier, you can also swing freely in the air. And who better to lead those pilots than the stoic Star Captain? This 2-mana creature helps you station and crew, giving all your creatures a bit more theoretical piloting skills. The Star Captain also hunts down your spacecrafts by seeking one from your library and putting it into hand. Depending on which spacecrafts you have in your deck, you can use this to get even more power, removal, or even a tutor for a legendary creature. No spells are safe from Thought Partition. This sorcery can help you slow down your opponents, changing the color and mana cost of their spells, so their early game threats can't be cast until they have 5 mana. In any deck, this is a great card to see in your opening hand. Moving into blue, Cloud Sculpt Armorer is an Ilvoy Artificer, which gives a shield counter to a creature or artifact and seeks non-lands whenever any counters are removed from your permanents. Whether those are shield counters being removed when a creature would take damage or be destroyed, or counters being moved or removed as part of triggered or activated abilities, you can get more value from your deck through a huge variety of spells with Cloud Sculpt Armorer in play. Late game lands aren't what you want to draw, but with Hydroponics Architect, you can transform lands in your library into basic islands and draw when they enter. Once those lands are islands, you can even search for them using spells, abilities, or other lands. With more artifacts, Machinist's Dismissal goes down in cost, costing as little as 1 mana to counter a non-creature spell. Even artifacts in your hand or artifact lands in play count toward this cost reduction, making it a low-cost piece in any artifact-heavy deck. And, because this is a cost reduction, Machinist's Dismissal still counts as a high mana value spell for certain triggered abilities. And if you're playing lots of high-cost artifacts, Network Marauder makes itself and your artifact cards stronger, even if they aren't in play. And it can be warped and then cast again from exile. This won't make your token stronger, but this card still pairs well with other cards which care about high mana value artifacts. And if your deck is full of ways to warp, Cantor of the Refrain can grow in power and return from the graveyard over and over, allowing you to sacrifice it or force your opponent to block it turn after turn to trigger your Void abilities. A few cards conjure copies of Cantor of the Refrain into your graveyard, so you can set them up for even more damage with every warp. Voidcall Devotee has Warp, Haste, and conjures copies of the Cantor into your graveyard, and with more copies of this card in your deck, you have more chances to fill the graveyard with creatures and bring them back by warping. And if you need to clear out blockers for an easy attack in, Song of Point Prime makes your opponent sacrifice a creature and conjures a Cantor of the Refrain into your graveyard. Then, once you've conjured all those creatures into the graveyard, you can bring them back with Gravitic Herald, which seeks a 3 mana or less non-land permanent and lets you cast it for a warp cost of 0 until end of turn. If your deck is full of strong enter the battlefield abilities, you can even use this to find things to blink or use it as a blink target itself. You can also use those warped creatures without haste to station a Monoist Gravliner, which perpetually grants those creatures Death Touch and Lifelink. Because perpetual buffs follow a card between zones, you can recast creatures in the future with the bonuses intact. Are you feeling lucky? Cosmic Sovereign is a fast, flying dragon with fire breathing, and when you go to combat, it conjures a random creature that has a mana value equal to its power, gives it haste, and can swing in alongside it. The more mana you spend on increasing its power, or if you increase its power using other cards, the more powerful cards you can conjure. And if you blink the conjured creature, you can even keep it around for future turns. If all you need is a single swing, Cavern Consumed sneaks a single creature or artifact into play, perpetually changes that creature into a 4/4 artifact, and lets you attack, getting strong enter the battlefield effects or on attack abilities, though only once. At the end of your turn, you'll need to sacrifice that creature if you don't blink it, or return the creature to your hand, but hopefully one attack is all it takes. Mind Security is an aggressive red creature that sets up a classic card, Flametongue Kavu, by conjuring a free copy of it into the top 8 cards of your library. This duo will clear the way for your other creatures, and play nicely with some of the other Kav from Edge of Eternities. And there's a brand new legendary Kavu, Thendar the Overminer. Thendar destroys non-basic lands in the end step if you control multiple tapped creatures, replacing those lands with wastes and taking the resources for himself. And if you're sacrificing lands, you can even get extra colorless mana, ramping into big red and colorless spells. Brood Astronomer also lets you sacrifice your lands and replace them with a planet, which you can station to unlock extra abilities. Because this drafts from the Planets spellbook, you'll see 3 of the 5 planets when drafting and choose 1 to put into play tapped. It also taps for mana of any color, or 3 mana if you control a fully stationed planet. And if you're looking for interesting lands, Eumidian Lifeseed drafts from a spellbook of lands with activated abilities, and generates mana which can be used to activate land abilities. Its spellbook contains Adagio, Windswept Bastion, Blast Zone, Cascading Cataracts, Contested War Zone, Deserted Temple, Dust Bowl, Evendo Waking Haven, Cavern Memorial World, Mutavault, Nesting Grounds, Plaza of Heroes, Sunken Citadel, Tusser Secundi, Void Altar, Terrain Generator, and Uthros, Titanic God Core. You can also further reduce those activated ability costs or sacrifice the Life Seed to get even more value. If your deck is full of creatures, World Weave can fill your battlefield with lands just by casting creature spells. This enchantment can help trigger landfall abilities, and you can even bring in the lands untapped using other permanents. Mutable Pupa could be the perfect low-cost creature to kick off an era of growth. As more powerful creatures enter, it gets +1/+1 counters, and also gains the abilities of those other creatures. Moving on to the multicolored cards, Ambassador of Evendo is an insect advisor which grants lands in your library the ability to draw cards when tapping. The more lands you play, the more chances you have to find upgraded lands in your library. You can even search for those lands using spells, lander tokens, or fetch lands. And if you'd rather search your opponent's library than your own, the legendary pirate, Axavar Fate Thief, heists in your end step if a non-land permanent left the battlefield or if you warped a spell during the turn. You'll need to discard a card as part of the ability, but if your hand is empty, you'll be getting resources from your opponent at no cost. Axavar also has warp, so you can heist cards as early as turn 1. Prototype X8 is a legendary Mechan Octopus, which costs 8 mana, but has its cost reduced for each creature card in your graveyard. Whenever another creature enters under your control, it is sacrificed, and an artifact copy is conjured in its place. This not only doubles your enter the battlefield effects, but also triggers on-death abilities, including those that further fill up your graveyard. Slivers are known for sharing their abilities, and Sliver Weftwinder gives all slivers in your hand the ability to be cast for a warp cost of 3 mana. Whenever a sliver enters, you conjure a random card from this card's spellbook into the top 10 cards of your library, and then you draw a card. And the cards in its spellbook are all slivers, so you'll be filling your library with Bone Scythe Sliver, Enduring Sliver, First Slivers Chosen, Lancer Sliver, Sentinel Sliver, Steel Form Sliver, Diffusion Sliver, Guttling Sliver, Dredgescape Sliver, Leeching Sliver, Belligerent Sliver, Bladeback Sliver, Blur Sliver, Cleaving Sliver, Hollowhead Sliver, Biteful Sliver, Striking Sliver, Mana Weft Sliver, Predatory Sliver, Tempered Sliver, Cloud Shredder Sliver, The First Sliver, Lava Belly Sliver, and Sliver Hive Lord. And with each Sliver spell having Warp, you can cast them twice to get even more slivers in your library and cards drawn. Val, Maroon Surveyor, won't be left behind, as she deals damage and gains life each time you discover, investigate, scry, surveil, or seek. And if you're able to trigger one of those abilities through damage or life gain, you can keep on going until your opponent is eliminated. You can even increase the damage she deals to increase your chances of survival and victory. Volatile Orbit turns your planets into burn, dealing 4 damage to any target when it enters if you control a planet, and conjures a planet of your choice into play with 8 charge counters on it when sacrificed. The final legendary creature from Alchemy Edge of Eternities is Vivisa Orbital Overseer. When they enter, you conjure a planet of your choice onto the battlefield, and when you attack with any creature, you create an animated 2/1 flying lander token. Because the lander creatures have summoning sickness, you won't be able to sacrifice them right away to find lands, but once you can, you'll be well prepared to trigger landfall abilities and get even more mana. With lots of artifacts entering play, Drix Interlacer grows in intensity, then can be sacrificed to draw cards. For only 1 mana, this can quickly build up to a high intensity and reward you with a whole new hand of cards. And the final new card, Spirited Simulacrum, calls back to a classic card. When this creature enters, you seek a land and put it into play tapped, getting a random land from your library, and when it leaves the battlefield, you seek a non-land card and get it into your hand, guaranteeing you mana and the spells to use it. You can even use the Simulacrum twice, warping it and getting both triggers before casting it from exile on a later turn. With all 30 new cards from Alchemy Edge of Eternities, your decks can travel into the final frontier. And though they're not new cards, a bonus bundle of lands, the Check lands, are also being released into Alchemy as part of this set. If you'd like to find more of my content, you can find me at youtube.com/Amazonian and twitch.tv/Amazonian. I make Magic the Gathering content with a focus on Draft and Brawl, and I have a series of videos with over 500 different Brawl decks on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching this video, and enjoy the new set!